is absolutely awesome. To see you all standing here today, I am so incredibly proud. Because we have a dream. A wise woman once uttered the words, "Never let it be said that to dream is a waste of one's time, for dreams are our realities in the waiting. In dreams we plant the seeds of a future." We have a dream. Each and every one of us here today is united because of our shared dream. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you and the organisers who have made this possible, because we are gathered here on this remarkable day as we take that dream from the recesses of our hearts and minds and place it centre stage as we seek to make the world a kinder, more just place for all of her inhabitants. Today, we will make history, but before we move forward, I want to take a step back to another historic day that occurred just over 50 years ago. Ironically enough, in late August. On the 28th of August, to be exact, in 1963. On that day, Dr. Martin Luther King stood before a crowd of dreamers, thousands of people who had gathered to hear him speak in Washington. They too shared his dream that a more just world was not only possible, but was one whose time had come. Dr. King's delivery of his famous "I Have a Dream" speech stirred a nation into action. And at the heart of his poignant words was the idea that a person's worth should never be determined by the colour of their skin. 54 years on, we are gathered here to say that the worth of anyone should never be determined by their skin, or their fur, or their fleece, or their feathers, or their fins. That species should never be a yardstick for determining the worth of anyone. And most importantly, that animals should be included in that number, for they are indeed some ones and not some things. Alice Walker said that the animals of this world exist for their own reasons. They were not made for humans any more than black people were for white, or women were created for men. Great thinkers like Alice Walker and Dr. Martin Luther King have throughout history dared to follow their dreams and challenge systems that they believed were anything but just. Although certainly not a great thinker of their ilk, I'd like to share with you now some of my journey that has guided me here today, as I'm sure it will resonate with many of you. Imagine, if you will, that something happened in your life, something that was to shock you to your core and destabilise everything that you believed in. And that was your world, and the world around you was founded on the wrong premise. Well, that happened to me. Although it didn't happen overnight, it came about as a combination of a series of events that caused me to have an irrevocable thought and indeed a life-changing action. One of my most early memories that something was wrong in our animal-loving household came when my mother served my sister and I rabbit stew. Now, rabbit wasn't a traditional dish served in our household of meat and 3 vegetables. No. The meat that was normally served was either beef, chicken or pork, but not rabbit. My sister and I, we protested long and loud. We didn't want to eat the Easter bunny. We screamed and we wailed and we stomped and we thumped. And eventually we won out, and we didn't have to eat the rabbit stew that had been served before us. But why did we protest? Our protest stemmed from fear. Fear of not only eating a dish that was beyond our family norms, but fear of eating an animal that we loved and revered, a cute, fluffy critter that we held a place in our heart, and certainly not our stomach. Fear, I have come to understand, is incredibly powerful and incredibly irrational in her grasp, as it causes we humans to do some pretty unconscionable things and accept some pretty untenable practices that a pure heart and a clear mind never would do. What possible reason could we have offered our mother that day in a household that did eat animals for not eating the rabbit? The truth was there was none, except the fear of the unknown that challenged those norms. On the one hand, we ate animals, but not all animals. The rabbit stew that day crossed a very disturbing line in my mind, and in doing so began to drag that 5-year-old me along for one hell of an ethical ride as the fabric of my whole world began to unravel. This tale speaks to our fractured relationship that we humans have with the animal kingdom and why we are here today. Here's another quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. But they take it because their conscience tells them that it is right. I ask, how has it snuck under our ethical radar that our treatment of animals is not based on their ability to suffer, or their capacity for joy, or even their desire to live, but their treatment is based solely on the use we humans have for them? How has it come to pass that the slaughtering of some animals for their flesh, the incarceration of some animals for our convenience and pleasure, the reduction of some animals to the status of property, and the separation of some animals from their beloved babies has become not only socially permissible, financially rewarding, but legal as well? In a nation that prides itself on justice, and we shower over $12 billion each year on the animals who share our hearts and homes, why is it some animals' worth is determined in pounds of flesh, not pounds of love? The answer is simple. It's called speciesism. Speciesism has provided us with not only a justification and a level of questioning comfort for the way animals are treated, but also an exemption from our ethical thought. And it happens because we humans believe that we have dominion over the animal kingdom. We humans, we like to think we're apart from the animal kingdom, that we're superior by design and separated by our species. Yet, the truth, based on sound science and rational thought, is that we are very much a part of the rich tapestry of life. We humans like to think we are unique and special. And actually on that part, we're true. We are unique and special. But so too is every single animal. You see, there is more that unites us than divides us. When cut, we all bleed. When threatened, we all feel fear. As Joanne MacArthur, the photojournalist, puts it so beautifully, we animals all need food and water to nourish us. We animals cherish our babies. We form strong bonds with our friends. And we have likes and dislikes. Edmund Burke said that the only thing necessary for the triumphance of evil is for good men to do nothing. We enslave, we exploit and we slaughter more than 64 billion land animals and over 1 trillion aquatic animals every single year. And while those statistics might seem daunting to you, please never ever forget that each and every one of those animals was an individual who very much wanted to live. What if our forefathers and foremothers got it wrong? What if our species has taken a wrong fork in the evolution of our humanity? What if our role in all of this is not to overpower animals and rule the world? What if our role is to be kind and benevolent and good? What if our role is to be protectors and guardians of this planet and all of her inhabitants? Most certainly we have the right to do those things, but increasingly we're being called upon to ask ourselves, do we have the right? And what if we can't live happy and healthy lives without harming others? What compelling reason can we ever offer for not doing so? Hardening our hearts to the suffering of others, to their cries and their pains, not only takes from their lives, but takes from our life as well. Henry Gentilis wisely said, "One day your heart will stop beating, and none of your fears will matter. What will matter is how you lived." Since humans became vocal in their thoughts, there have been those brave enough to challenge popular wisdom that the treatment of others was anything but just. And while it may have been socially permissible to incarcerate, enslave, torment, harass and kill those we consider a lesser being, there have been those brave enough to challenge this thought. Throughout history, our ethical progress has been marked by our ability to embrace those we once considered different. And in doing so, our species inches closer and closer to being the best that we could possibly ever be. There can be no doubt that it's daunting to question our relationship with animals. The ramifications can seem enormous. People fear change. People fear the unknown. People fear challenging popular thought. And people fear being seen as extreme. People fear they may lose something or have to give something up. But what if it's not so much giving something up, but gaining something? Something called peace of mind. Something called living in step with our conscience. And something that is in keeping with the goodness of the human heart. And what if being kind isn't really that extreme after all? Too often people are held back in this world because fear of the potential fallout of doing something or not doing something, and the realisation that their life may have been founded on a lie. But if we allow fear of what might or might not happen to hold us back, we shortchange our life. And a life shortchanged is no life at all. Today, 50 years on from my most vocal protest in our family kitchen, I can proudly attest to the fact that rabbit stew is still off my menu, but not long thereafter, so too was not beef, but cows, not chicken, but chickens, not pork, but pigs, and indeed all animals and their products, as I've come to realise that wrong is wrong, harm is harm, pain is pain, and suffering is suffering. Killing is killing, no matter whom the victim is. John Lennon, in his hauntingly beautiful song Imagine, paid tribute to the dreamers amongst us who yearn for the day that the world can live as one. I say with confidence that the dreamers here today, we share that dream, and the reason that we do is because we know animals too dream. We know that they are more like us than not. In fact, it is only form that separates us from our ability to experience the world and all the magic that she has to offer. I have the privilege of witnessing this every day at Edgars Mission. I see the rescued animals come in, some from terrible states of neglect, others lost souls through the absence of care in our legal protection system, with hunger in their bellies and fear in their eyes. I see the bonds between mothers and babies. But above all else, I see them all respond to kindness in their own time, as we would. Rest assured that when good people unite, they can and will end the most terrible of injustices. So I ask you all, as you leave here today, to take a commitment as architects of a new world. You've heard some wonderful speakers here today offer an incredible array of ways that we can do this, to end the nightmare that animals endure as we become their beacons of hope. Let's not only make that kinder world possible, let's make it happen. Let's ensure that speciesism is never, ever a barrier to our kindness. Arundhati Roy, she put it so well. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her dreaming. I can too. Can you? Thank you so much. Thank you.